And we're back live with Behind the Screens with Gabriel Rud tonight. Hello, how are you, Gabriel?
Hi, hello. It's 5 o'clock here in Buenos Aires, so I have
good afternoon.
cup of tea.
Cup of tea.
Hey, everyone.
True. And David, KnownOrigin. So as usual, we're going to pass on the word to David, who's going to give us a quick introduction about KnownOrigin, the digital art platform, before we dive into a conversation with Gabriel today about his wonderful work and all the work he also has done with a lot of other artists well known in the space. But before we do that, David, after you.
So, hello everyone, thanks for joining the latest session of Behind the Screens. So, I'm David Moore, one of the co-founders of KnownOrigin. KnownOrigin is a digital arts platform that allows creative professionals to showcase and sell their work. We now have over 1,000 artists on KO. We have a really great community. Essentially, we are dedicated to giving artists the time and space they need to kind of share their stories. And this is why the Behind the Screens series is really important. Tonight we have Gabriel, professor, artist, mentor. I'm really looking forward to learning more about this artist. So without further ado, I will hand back over to Serena and let you guys do your thing. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at knownorigin_.io or leave comments in the YouTube comments feed, and Serena will be able to bring those up and we can ask Gabrielle some awesome questions. Thank you for taking the time, and I will shoot off now and I will be in the background if you need me.
Okay, thank you, David.
Thank you, Serena.
You're on mute.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. So it's a pleasure to have you on this series, and we've been waiting to hear from you. And I have to say this story. I had a couple of students of yours really excited to see that you were going to join the Behind the Screens, and they've told me a lot of stories, and they really wanted to hear the story from you. So it's a pleasure to have you today. How are you? So you are in Argentina, am I right?
Yeah, I'm in Argentina, and it's good to my students talking, but it's also like danger because they can fail like many things. I bring a slideshow with me, so I'm going to share the screen. Share screen here. So I'm going to try to illustrate the things I do with image. So if I have a problem, Serena, please, I will talk in Spanish and you can translate me.
I will try to translate with the little Spanish I know, but yes.
Okay.
But yes, I should say that if anybody has questions during this live talk, please feel free to ask. I know Gabriel has prepared a lot of information for us to go through today. But it's also good to pick up questions. So if you are in the audience watching live, feel free to share your thoughts, comments, questions, and we'll be very happy to discuss. But yeah, Gabriel, tell us about yourself.
Okay, I think the place where it all started is here, the Faculty of Architecture, Design and Urbanism, the Universidad of Buenos Aires, here in Argentina. And this is the building. Here is the science faculty, and here's the FADU. And here is the building. And I started studying there in 2001. And it was an incredible place where my life began and changed. So here is a class there, and this is the ambience. And there I meet Carlos Trilnik, who was my first professor of audiovisual design, and his background was more oriented to video art, and he was like an 80s artist, an underground artist. So he also have a degree in design, audiovisual design, but he was very open to new technologies. And also he, in his classes, teach us to be very suspicious about the medium, about a camera. And he also make a comparison with surveillance camera and Foucault. So his approach to audiovisual design was like very complex and like hitting us to don't go to the to be naive about what we are going to do with this media. So then I check his backgrounds, and then I collaborate with him, and his works work a lot, not that lens-based audiovisual design, but with technology and the noise and all sorts of things. And here is Luis Campos, who is also a teacher there. So you can see like very influenced on Nanchun Pike. Also in that place I met Charlie Nichenson, who is an audiovisual installations. And then I met Gabriel Balanci, who is a photographer, but then started working with installations. So it was like very inspiring for me, like being a student there. So inspiring that when I finished the career there, I start like teaching, and I stayed there for like 20 years. And now as a teacher, I try to continue that way of seeing the art and design, like to bring students to a notion of design by thinking about their self-expression and not worrying about like the education as a simulacro, as a way of making them prepare for a laboral job. It's like research and look inside of them and look inside the world and have like a broad view. So here is one of my colleagues, and it's like a very special place, and we introduce them to technology very early in the career, like in the first year they are experimenting and also like playing with technology and making also at the same time photography and working with virtual environments and real, building maquettes.
I have a few questions. Can I ask them to you?
Yeah.
I love this presentation, and but I have a few questions. I wanted to ask, what attracted you to stay there, like to continue teaching there and not going somewhere else to discover, maybe different ways of teaching or approach to technology?
I don't know why I stayed there, because it was like the only place I think I could teach. But 2 years ago, I started like teaching in another university, a private university, and it was like great to see another institution other than University of Buenos Aires. Maybe it's like a mix kind of reasons why, because there you have like a very degree of freedom and also responsibility at the same time, because it's a public university and students make a lot of effort to go there, and also our colleagues and the professors do a lot of effort to teach there because we have like very low income. That conjunction of like magic and voluntarism, and also it's a great place to continue learning. By staying there and teaching, I'm in constant like learning from my students and from my colleagues. I think that's the reason.
And in terms of like art, I know you've been teaching there, but how did your career as an artist develop while teaching, or how did you balance the two?
While I was learning there, my assignments there, my works for the university were also personal works. So I think my career starts when I was a student, and I use like an excuse the assignments of the university to express myself. So I think when my artist jobs and all that were like in parallel ways of when I was learning at the same time, also with the university environment was like very fertile to have ideas.
Well, I must admit, you've done a great job, because a lot of artists that came from that university are also now quite successful in the crypto art space. And I also want to share this comment from Casimir, who says, it seems like the people at the university got a great mindset. Feels like a lot of university don't focus on the personal development of their students, which seems like the university in Buenos Aires is actually focusing on their students and let them experiment and create the way they want, perhaps.
Yes, and also because it's very massive, there's a lot of students. It's also like go to the community. For example, here is the final exhibition of works, and there you have the grandmother of the students like using for the first time VR. So it's not only a stuff that happen with students; it go on with the community, and that's also very cool. And CryptoArg was like the organization of many students of the University of Buenos Aires who start like expressing themselves in this platform, in KnownOrigin, in Super Rare and all that. And I start like having very questions of the students about softwares and hardwares and and it was like a sudden interest about 3D modeling and render. And I said, why are they like?
And do you think that was due to crypto art sort of booming in the space and getting the interest of students, or?
Maybe because I think it accelerates a lot, no? So then I start watching in their social media a lot of image, and I was like very. It was a surprise because they were like doing like very excellent stuff. So when I myself with Mariano Ramis, my colleague, start like in January to fill our profiles in KnownOrigin. They invite us to a Discord where they share information. So not only that the individual students develop themselves like an artist, they build like a community where they share a lot of information and support about many things, hardwares, like blockchain information. So that made me like very proud that they auto-organized themselves and they were like very generous with themselves and also with us. The first introduction of what not to do and what to do came from them. So I learned.
And I was going to say, did you find that your students were teaching you how to, put yourself on those platforms? Or?
Yes, the first thing they said is you have to build a Twitter. I don't use Twitter. No. It's not an option if you want to succeed in here. It was so I built my Twitter, and now in the Discord I'm like very silent, but I read all of the things they share and
You're
I learn.
There.
Yeah, I'm there. So I asked them to, because many of them have avatars and names that I don't recognize. So I told me that raise your hands, the ones that are former students. So at least 10 show up. So I'm going to show you very quickly some of these.
Lenny, yes, we interviewed Lenny a while ago, and I actually have a question from him to ask you a little later. So
okay, yeah, Lenny studied the last year, so he finished the first level of the degree. So this is his work. Daira, do Marvelous Things. I don't know who she is. She's like Tierras Raras, but I don't know who exactly she is. Luran.
So these are all students of yours.
Yeah.
Frenetic Void.
Frenetic Void.
I wonder if they're here tonight. If you are, maybe just say hello. Lucia.
Falco.
Lucia is.
And Guido, and many more. So yes, that was like where I came from. So I bring you also, because I watch other behind the scenes and you always ask about background, so I prepare myself. I prepare some like my
I can tell that you came ready for this live, Sometimes it's very interactive, but you were just spot on, already.
But interrupt me whenever you want. I was showing you before that my first like medium of expression was this computer, Commodore 64, and I love to express myself in the same TV where I watch cartoons. For me, it was nice to draw in paper, but it was fascinating to bring those images in the same screen. So in Commodore 64, you have this interface which you have to text, and with my sister we learn from ourselves to load games. And then in school they teach us Logo Writer, which is a scripting program to do the turtle drawings. So I learned parametric art when I was like very young, because I discovered that if you put some commands with the command repeat and a very large number, you made this turtle goes forever, and you have to shut down the computer because it will not stop. You don't have a pause. Or so if you put go forward 50, rotate and then repeat to some, you make like this kind of drawing, and I love that. And they were not raw drawings, they were like, I don't know, generative art. But then I copy this software, which came with a pen and tablet, but you can't get it here, so I draw with a joystick. And this is the color palette. It was called Koala Painter. So to draw, you have to move the stick. And it was like very difficult. But also it was very difficult because I have a grayscale monitor, a grayscale TV, black and white TV. So the palette was like this, and I have to interpret it in grayscale. So maybe that's why I prefer like using grayscale and monochromatic in my artworks. It's like my color sensitivity don't develop in my early age. So
you were sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
So you were drawing and you were making those digital drawings using a grayscale instead of a color palette, but imagining the colors instead. So you were imagining what colors those were.
Yes, for me this is red, but it was brown, and I made like the equivalent. And I always draw like schools with blood and weapons. That was the themes I like when I was like 6 years old and 10 years old. So one time, when my mother was away, I bring the family color TV, and I plug it to the Commodore, and I see for the first time the colors of my works, and it was like all terrible colors. So I go back to grayscale. I prefer to work with grayscale than with color. And then when I was like more like a teenager, I buy a Sony PlayStation 1, and I used to record with VHS, like me playing games, but also with a software that was made for cheat. So it was like a CD-ROM that you put before you play a game, and it made all the textures disappear. So using this like a hack and this VCR which have some problems, so it overlay where you record over and over. So I started using this for making this stuff. I don't know why, but I like very much. And it seems like now it's called machinima, this kind of expression when you use video games to make like visual
video. Yeah.
So I used to play with games that let you move the camera, in this case like flight simulator, chopper simulator, and race games, and all kind of games that let you like move camera. And this was like a basketball game who have a mode where you can like director mode, place the camera whatever you want. So this was like very, very early experiments I do for pleasure. But then with Aldo Benitez, which was a friend, I started like using this material for making video clips. But this was like before.
And you were saying that these layers that we see in the work, they are due to the fact that it's been recorded multiple times, and so you see the impression of the first clip, let's say.
Yeah, it makes like a perfect overlay. And when you do it, then it starts to glitch in a way that was not fun. But yeah, I use like this. It was not vintage at that time. You used VHS to watch movies. It was the home VCR. But then I started like working as an assistant for artists, and then I came in contact with more powerful computers, and I download this software which it's called Bryce, that it's have a very intuitive interface. You can see here, and it was made for creating landscapes. And it was like very easy to operate, and I use it for my first like work, public adult artist work. And I made these terrains which were very have a lot of detail.
Yeah, it seems like in a aerial photograph.
Yeah, and I use like this tool inside Bryce, which is a terrain generator, with you can move parametric options here, and you get this grayscale, and then it goes like 3D. So I was working with these computers and like 3 days of rendering. It was like very, in 2001, very demanding. So then I moved to 3D Max and more professional software, and I learned to model. And I started like doing experiments using Bryce as a render software of things I done with 3D Max. So in 2000, this was like very impressive because you have reflection and sky and things that were like very difficult to do for an amateur. So I started like working, earning money with that. I made like renders for design studios or for clients, and I make like stuff like this. So 3D like make me pay my stuff when I was young. Also, I started collaborating with artists who were formerly teachers. This is a project for Gabriel Balanzi, which was like an installation in the main square of Buenos Aires. And also I learned there that a good render can decide a project. And in Buenos Aires, it was very difficult for artists to pay for a renderist, but I was very cheap. So Balanzi and I partnership, and every project he imagined and we worked together, we printed in folders and all that, and the jury was like very impressed by the project and also by the series of the 3D. So I started like working as a 3D renderist for artists, and this is the actual photo of the installation. But then I start to say, why not?
When did you do that? Sorry,
This was 2003.
Mm-hmm.
It have a history because this square was actually bombed, and it has a reference for the Second World War when they used this kind of balloons in air raids. But I was thinking that why not the render is the final piece of a process? What is the difference between the imaginary of these balloons in the sky or the actual place it in the square and take a photo?
Mm-hmm.
And then another software which was very important for me, it was called Poser, and it had the same kind of interface with this very intuitive. So instead of figuring out how or teach or see tutorials, you turn on this software and it was like very intuitive, and I like really appreciate those kind of intuitivity. And I use it for making very weird experiments. This is one of the first. In Poser, you have like human figure, and then you can animate it by keyframes.
The movement, yeah,
in a very simple way, and also you can make it like fail.
Yeah, I see.
And also this software have like render mode, like it looked like sketching, and it was like very good. It was like a feature, not a main feature of that software, but I start to get fascinated of the good quality of the expression of the lines. So I start making like posing models and then making these sketches and showing it to my friends, and they think that I draw it by myself and that I can draw very well. Casimir said that 3D, but it is before that 3D Poser. Then that 3D by Poser, but it was like earlier. So with Poser, you can make this kind of sketches. And then I start like a more serious project where I was wanting to illustrate the whole Bible line by line. So the number of lines I will finish it when I was like 60 years old, but then I give up. But it was an excuse for me a daily drawing with this technique I'm publishing.
So can I ask you on these projects? So you said that you were creating the models as well, or you were just drawing on top of the feature that the program?
I was using the default models, all the animals, the human figures, insects,
and then using the feature to make it look like drawings, and then adding on top of that.
Yeah, I can use the camera and the posing, and then when I have it, I render it in this style, and then I draw it again with Photoshop. Also, I use like a layer, and then like make hair with Wacom. Then I have a very lucky collaboration. I put in Peru, but it was like only one. I met this artist who is Leon Ferrari because of her granddaughter was also a student of university. And she once told me, you have to meet my grandfather, who is a great artist. He's Leon Ferrari, and I didn't knew him. So, okay, I said, and we went to Leon Ferrari's studio, and when he opened the door and I see his work, I was absolutely amazed. And he also was like very wise and I don't know, it's like an excellent person. He's very known because of this work. It's most famous, but his work, like, it's very complex, and he go through a lot of periods. And this work is called heliographs, which is the printing system of architecture plans. And he made these drawings, which are like diagrams or planes, that for me were like absolutely amazing. And he was an architect and used the templates of architecture templates, where it was like transfer. You put it on the paper and and then you get the car. It was like for making humans, furniture, and cars, and all that in architecture plans. So he used that for making this kind one. I was absolutely fascinated. So
yeah, I've never seen something like this before. It's so interesting. It looks like a QR code in a way, but then when you look closer, you see all the elements, and it's interesting.
Yes, also, Leon Ferrari's work are like memes. He have a lot of collage that resemble a lot of contemporary memes. So he have this work which called Planta, and we collaborate in making it in 3D. So this is a detail, and this is what we do together, which was the exactly plan of drawing of Leon Ferrari, bring it to 3D. Also, I use like template furniture and humans. And here are like the humans in the same position, in the same place that Leon Ferrari's work. And we make a video which is like a visit to this labyrinth. But when we are doing this work, he was wondering if we can use VR. It was 2001, and VR was like in very early develop. But he in the 90s used a VR in a shopping mall in Brazil, and he was like fascinated with that technology. And he asked me, why don't we use VR so the user can walk around this labyrinth? And it was like very hard in 2002 to make this piece. But he was
I can imagine, like technology.
Yes, he said it was 1995 and I use a VR. How come it's not VR now?
So, VR has taken a long time, and I think it still has a long way to go.
Yeah. So he was like, he liked the video, but he was some kind of disappointed we have the 3D model and the user cannot. I offered him to make like a video game, like Counter-Strike or Doom but he said, no, VR. So it's a shame that we cannot do the work the way he imagined it.
Yeah.
And then start making like this video. They're like fakes, those videos from SIGGRAPH where they show you technology in development. So I started doing this like very short, and I put them on YouTube. So people think that I was like, I don't know, testing a new technology, but this is very simple. This is a camera matching software, and I use a very shaky footage and place a 3D model. But the situation of this camera tracker with like a mobile phone generates something like, now you think it's like augmented reality. But in 2007, it was like, how do you do that? And it was like very, very simple process. This is my house in 2007. I don't have those plants anymore.
Oh, look beautiful though.
And see, this was like a paper who have an holographic terrain.
Wow.
And some people, like my mother, think that it was actually like a model over it or something like that. But it helps a lot.
Well, it definitely gives that impression. I'm sure that when these videos were first shown on YouTube, people would be like, what is this? Or, that kind of magic is...
See, I also give like very little information. I just place them there. And this is...
Oh, yes, you explained to me about this one that was in a museum, right?
Yeah, the Centro Cultural San Martín, which is like a museum. So I put it there, and then I put in my resume that I show my work in this space. So also this like faking attitude give me like a lot of...
You kind of did.
Yeah. So my plan were to go to Tate or MoMA and do this kind of stuff and put that myself. I'm like illegally showing art in these places. But then I abandoned that idea. The faking, it was like a faking phase, which don't last too long.
So this one was an AR, augmented reality installation that you did.
Yeah, but it was not AR because it was like footage processed with this camera trace software, which took like a lot of time to process. So it was not real time.
I see.
Yeah, then I started like faking real objects, so they look like archaeological artifacts. I don't know why. And then I stopped doing that. And with this technique of camera tracing objects, 3D objects in the real world, I make like a video where I put like this monument in places of Buenos Aires. These are frames. It's like a video in motion, but I don't like it anymore because I was like, I hurry myself for making these sculptures and put it in the video, and I watch them now, and I think like they are like not finished or they're not great. For example, I hate this morphology.
It's fun when you look back at things you've done, and you know.
Yes, I want to burn them all, but because of this appointment, I show them. And this was like my first solo show, and I never make like a big solo show again because it was like a lot of effort and a lot of expectatives to sell or to something, and obviously nothing happened. So this solo exhibition have a lot of work. It's look like a retrospective because I put like many things in different styles. It's not very coherent. So I have these prints and also a video. And this is Marta Satonji, who was a teacher in University of Buenos Aires, and she was like the very, very wise, and she write the curatorial text. So I was like very honored, and I learned all of what I know. I learned from her. And I have this piece that now I like it very much with this poser technique. It's like a codex or encyclopedia of something I don't know because it's written in a constructed language which have these characters, and it's like describing a kind of universe, or it's an enigma for me too. And also it coexists with the prints, so you see it like sketches and these like photographs of this place.
This is like becoming closer to the artwork that you currently are developing.
Yeah, I was like very obsessed with a software that let you sculpt, and I sculpt this with this Wacom tape. So you use your mouse for position the blob that you are modeling, and the pen to make holes or protuberances, so convex and concave in the mesh. So I done it with that, and then I participate in this exposition. It was like a very like these national exhibitions where you have art, design, science, medicine, politics, militaries all together in a very big place. So I present a project to visualize an art project to visualize ghost and folk tales monsters of all Argentina, from the north to the south. So I research and I read about all these mythological figures, and they all have like, they don't have an image, because, for example, the Pombero, which is like an evil from the north part of the country, some says that it's like very little with pointy hairs, and others said that he's very tall with big feet, and another said that he have like donkey face. So they don't have like a proper image or illustration. So I was like trying to give the ultimate promedio of all these looks and tales, and so they are like very ghostly and very undefined. So
and when did you do this exposition?
It was 2004. 2004.
Because I see the glasses with the lens, blue and red. So
yeah,
that's why I was asking.
It's called anaglyph, and when you put your glasses, you see it in volume.
The 3D.
And you have like 3 glasses, and there was very massive. A lot of people see this piece, and also in these boxes you have the text which tells you about the ghost of the spirit. And many spectators say to me, that's not the Pombero. So no, well, it's my interpretation. No, but it's not like this because I saw it. and with people,
really?
Yeah, I have like many fun situations to see that amount of people watching this artwork. So and the other stand, which was in front of my work, was a cancer research institute who have a lot of imaginary of cancer and tumors. So many people think that it were like the same.
It was connected in some ways.
Yeah, because it was like all mixed up. To give you an idea, for example, it was like a religion stand next to me. So many, like, I don't know, came and watched it, and it was like very fun.
Yeah, Lawrence is watching, Lawrence Lee, and is showing a comment saying, how cool, I've been working on monsters too. It's a thing that other artists should explore. So interesting to see that, it's a recurring theme.
Yeah, also, you told me another artist that used like mythological figures in her work. Remind me.
Pinar Yoldas.
Yeah. Yeah, I watch her work. Is very cool for inspiration.
Yeah, she does work on different like goddess that I think are created from works she's been researching about from the environment and ecosystem as well. So that's a fascinating combination of like monsters and what the future of organic life will be once it's blended in, a polluted environment.
Yeah. And then I get back to these big territories, and I make a piece which was projected over paper. It was like a very big projection over a paper. The paper have a print in black and white, and the information about the hour of the day, it was like a 24 hours video. So you see the terrain in a different illumination. And this piece was in a gallery which have a window, so you can pass in the street and see it functioning. And I have this other terrain which have like very detailed, and it was always a problem for me, like printing or showing digital work. For example, I start to go into photographic awards, contest of photography, and I present my work as a photography, and it always win the bigger the print, you win the prize. So I have to pay a lot of money and get my image like very big. And also when you saw a print in size, there's something that it's missing. I don't know how to explain it, but it was for me like a attrition to something. It gets lost when the digital model gets in the material real world. So
that's actually an interesting question, because in general, it's difficult to show digital art. Somebody asked me this morning, what's the best way to display digital art? And I said, well, it depends on how it's conceived and how the artist is willing to exhibit the work. But if it's, made on screen, it may as well stay on screen. But that's an interesting question when you're planning to do shows in real life and how to export digital art, unless you do projections or huge screens. But still, there may be something that is not quite as you imagined it.
Yeah, here it's me like saying I spend a lot of money with this work and I have it hanging in the wall in my living room, and it's very big and I don't like it anymore because it's like very rustic. I don't know. So yes, it was like a conflict. I also
I wonder if anyone else has the same feeling, because I know there are artists in the virtual room here. How do they enjoy, looking at the work or not in an exhibition, whether printed or, always wondered that.
When I make this piece, which was like a polyptych of many little image, so then I take it to Peru and I expose it in a Centro Cultural Qorikancha, which is like a very magical place. And here is like another version of this series. And here is like work, I think it was like made for internet, or made not to be shown in a specific way, like monocanal video. So I was like very happy with this kind of work where I have where I don't have to think how it will be showed. You can watch it in your cell phone or project it in a wall. It depends on the curator or like more site-specific way to show the work. So it was like a loop of a very highly detailed thing, and I like it because when it's far away, it seems like very organic, but when it came close to you, you see that it's like made of geometric like tiles.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
And it was
love
like
all these spikes, the feeling, it feels like, I don't know, it gives some sensations on your skin. I don't know, it makes me feel something on my skin for some reason,
And also it was very hard to write about this stuff, to put it a title and to put it in a context. That was also something that I was like struggling, that you as an artist have to be like an art historian who understands what are you doing and why, and writing an abstract about your work and all those stuff. I think that kind of push you back the creativity. I tend to work more like symptoms and start to do stuff, and then it's not my job to put them in context and to write. It's like another exercise. And this is a piece I do specifically for curved TVs, 4K curved TVs. So I made like a research for this video to be like represented with a camera which have a deformation that compensate with this kind of TVs. So when you see it here, it's kind of mini, but when you display this in a big vertical curved TV, it's like more 3D. And I was like obsessed, but it was very difficult to find 4K curved TVs. So this project only, I can only display it once. And then I see another behind the scenes, and I saw that many artists also do collaborations and graphics. So I want to show some artworks I do for music artists. I work a lot with Daniel Melero, which is a very great musician from Buenos Aires. And we do this CD. And then with another band, which called I made like a fractal. And to make like this design assignment it's great because I took away all my art, my authorship, and I started like playing more like an illustrator or do different things. Not so abstract, like draw people and
figurative, yeah.
And this is what I present to the artist, and they reject because they don't want color, they want red. So I give them the red version, and finally,
they liked it.
Yeah, they like this, not the other. Then for Leandro Fresco, which is an ambient musician, we do this, and it in vinyl it's great, and also in CD. And this is the opposite of my problem with printing, because with CD covers and artwork for music, you see it on screens, so the amount of detail you put there, you have to think. In Spotify, you cannot zoom in the image, and nobody will see your artwork. But for this piece, which was meant for a vinyl version, a material disc, I put a lot of effort in the detail, knowing that the art piece will be...
It was going to be a large,
Yeah. So I play a lot with detail, knowing it's going to be printed. But here you see in Spotify, it's there, and it's not an option for zoom in. The most you can do is put it on your cell phone, that it's a little bigger, but you can't zoom it. It's
we should send an email to Spotify telling them, mind the artwork on the cover,
yes,
not just the music.
Designers are working for this optimal size. They make the artwork so the text and the detail looks good in this like very little size. And this is a photogrammetry of them, of Melero and Tuñón. This is another. And I also do the audiovisual for the live presentation. And I also work with Melero doing lighting and as a DJ. And it was like great. I don't have good videos of that, but it was like a very huge screen in Mutec and operated live. It was a great venue. And with Aldo Benitez, I do a collaboration for a video, which I'm very proud because it's awful. It's like very, very weird.
I love this expression, you know. How can you not laugh? It's like, I love it because it's awful. I love it.
Yeah, I do whatever. I go out and film, and Aldo let me do whatever I want. He's Aldo, which I scan him in 3D, and the other is his partner. So I do whatever. And I was like, and I put myself, here is me dancing with a mocap. And then I come again here. Here is Aldo doing a traditional dance. And I was fascinated with the Mixamo. Many people here will know, which is an open source, like not open source, but you have a lot of mocap, motion capture of people dancing and movements, so you can apply it very easily for your 3D models. So I was like fascinated with that, and I use it a lot of this motion capture of people dancing. And the end of the video, it had like a concept, but it's like very, very weird. And in the end, it appeared like a show off of how I can render a very like hyper-realistic bones. And but well, this
wow.
is.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah, because it's all black and white, and then this disappear. Then I have a collaboration with Diego Alberti, who is an artist and also a programmer, and he works like very hardcore with technology. And we were like trying to do a software that let you sculpt with gesture. It was 2008, so you don't have like the things that you have now. So we use Kinect, and this Kinect track your hands. So when you move your hands, you left like a 3D blob, and the velocity on the acceleration of your hand, it impacts in the size of this blob. So you can control like the way you like model in the air. You don't need like any tracking system, just to place yourself in front of the Kinect camera. And it was like very great. We don't do more. We have the first version and the 1.1, and then we abandoned this project. But it was great to see how people which are more trained in body movement, like dancers and choreographers, when we show this piece, start like doing her thing, and they can control it more than me, because you start like doing this same movement and making like kind of a tai chi. But if you get with this technology, I think you can do like great things. We also add something that make the blob disappear in time, so you never finish your sculpture. It's like an ongoing thing.
Like fluid and yeah.
And this is another collaboration with Mariano Ramis, which is a colleague from University of Buenos Aires and a friend. And he was the one who told me, you have to do yourself an KnownOrigin, and we do it. And we've done it together. And his work, well, it's great. And we collaborate. He invent a technique of transfer ink into paper and then scan it and use artificial intelligence to merge those layers. And his work is like amazing. And here is when we were young, collaborating in something. And also we team with Carlos Trilnik, who was our teacher, for making a research project called IDIS, Investigation in Image and Sound Design, which is like a very huge database that interconnect artists with sites, with works, and well, it's like an ongoing project and finish it forever to like a research. And it's not made only by the three of us. We have students who collaborate in make this database grow. And now my current...
Let's see what you're currently doing, because I have so many questions, and there are also questions coming from people watching it live tonight. So
I speed up. This series like was more like black and white, and I start to work with I also print this work, but I was like very interested in what happened with the craft of the materialize of these sculptures. This one, I make a show. This, and then I started working with color, which was very difficult for me, but I invented a way for bringing color to my stuff. That is very simple. I put like a red, green, and blue light around the object, and then I don't have to think about color. I only have to move these lights, and it starts creating the gradients and the colored shadows. So it's like you're like modeling or getting things you don't expect. No, you want it more red, so you start like moving intuitively these lights, and you get this kind of results.
Wow.
And this is my house, where I put all the unsold prints and works from I have done in all those years. And here's my cat. And she started she came to live with me last year. So when she was little, she started tearing and biting and peeing over my work, because it have this bubble wrap and cardboard and shitty one. And then I have this place abandoned, and I decided to not print anything more, never to print artwork again. And I focus myself in teaching and in doing videos and posting stuff in Instagram, and I quit the fine art print period, because I think that my cat knows something about those stuff. Now I
do not print anymore.
Now I clean it. This is the stuff that was que quedó. So I put this cloth, and the cloth she don't buy it, and she don't. But I have a previous experience with this project, which is called Hard Disk Museum. So I apply to this project, and you give the owner of this hard disk museum a USB with your work. Here is the work I put in there, and he destroyed the pen drive in his hard disk museum, and then he break the USB. So the only copy of this material is in his hard disk. That's the hard disk museum concept. But now, because of the pandemic, he is opening, but for very little time, the collection of his hard disk. It's a performance where he goes around the world with a case with his hard disk, and he plug it in a computer, and he show his collection. But then it's offline most of the time. But this for this, and I love very much that because you have to make a promise that you don't have your own copy of your work, and I took it very serious.
It's kind of the opposite of blockchain, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it was very weird, because how he's Soliman, how he knows I will erase it. But if I want to be part of it, I will do it. So it's the first time I saw this animation in 2 or 3 years, because I lost the file. He's the only one who have it. But now, because of the pandemic, the hard disk museum is screening or something like that. But it was a project I love very much. And for finish, this is what I'm doing now, which is modeling in VR environments. Thanks to this project, EDIS, we get to buy hardware for VR, because we are part of the EDIS project. It's to build a virtual space for this database and visualizations, and also research ourselves in VR. So I start doing the same stuff I was doing with the Wacom, with VR modeling software, and my life changed completely, because I have to learn everything again. You have to work with the scale. You can use your whole arms for modeling something, or to make it very little and use your hand or your fingers, and many hours of practicing and to get in this technique. And we were talking before about motion thickness in VR, and you tell me, Serena, that you get very sick.
I can't do VR. Yes, as much as I love it, I still not able.
And I think I have some of this motion sickness, but I train myself to resist, A good way is to don't go in and out constantly, so you can check your mails by minimize the software. And when I get into VR, I try to stay there for as long as I can. And for me, it's like very, it's like diabolic, Faustic. I don't know, because you are doing
Faustic. I love that.
you are doing like something incredible, but it's not good. What are you doing with your own perception? It feels like very weird. I like it and I hate it at the same time, like using VR, because of this feeling. It's something bad you are doing to your body or your perception, but at the same time you're getting like unleashed potentiality, and you're seeing stuff that you made from nothing. It's great. And I also invite people to my house to use VR. That's one of the goals of Project EDIS, is to bring VR for people to experience and have an experience with that. So my sculptures change a lot when I start using VR medium. And here is my Instagram, where I have my most recent works, because then when I have this crisis of fine art printing, I start like doing work and publishing in Instagram, and I have like a lot of material that I share here. I have a lot of photogrammetry, which I'm very interested.
And that's a self-portrait, is that right?
Yeah, here. And I also like, it's like a diary of things I am doing.
I'm also going to share your Instagram here, so if people want to follow your news.
And here I am posting my stuff on KnownOrigin. And for me, when I stop like doing this like weekly post of stuff, because I'm like now very interested in putting my work here, so the works that I'm doing now with the expectation to put it in KnownOrigin are like more craft, more detail, and so it's like I have like very exciting time to reconnect with what I'm doing. It's going to be seen by a very interested community, because in Instagram they're my friends, but what it happened to me in KnownOrigin is that you get like people that are interested and really interested. So in this month, I knew a lot of artists I didn't know, and they are asking questions, and me also. So it was like very, very cool experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the works are just dream-like. I don't know. They're so fascinating.
Yeah. So that's all. I stop sharing the screen. So if someone wants to ask,
so we do have questions. We have plenty of questions for you, Gabriel. I didn't want to interrupt you because it was so incredible to listen to you, and you have so much experience and have worked in so many different ways, and the approach you had towards your work, I think, is so interesting to see that you keep criticizing yourself and checking in with yourself so many times that you try not to influence the way you look at things. So I find that one of the most interesting aspects of your practice, because you really dive into the art in itself as an explorer, and what comes out of it is a new self. And so every time you express something that is different from what it was previously, the exploration keeps on going. So that's very interesting. There's plenty of questions here, but I know we passed on the hour, so I'm gonna try and keep this to to a time that is manageable for everybody. But I do have one question that I was very keen on asking to you. This question was passed on to me from Lenny, and he wanted me to ask you, what do you think design is? And I would love for you to answer that.
It's terrible because when you are a designer and also you are a teacher of design, you are the people who less know about the subject. It's like asking a philosopher what is philosophy. If he's serious, someone who is serious about, or for a carpenter, if you the best carpenter, you ask him what is to be a carpenter. If he's good at what he's doing, he will have more doubt than certainty about what it's doing. But for me, there's something about design that it's like when an object or an entity is very well designed, it's look like it is like meditating about itself. That's like a definition. So to make like good design, you have to make something that it's like aware of itself, and you can learn that ability. And when you learn it, it's like sticks to you, and then all the stuff you make have that way of seeing. It's not much difference of an art object, a design object. I think that in my university and universities around the world, there's a lot of energy put in what is the difference of art and design, but that discussion is not like, it's like a new discussion when historically, if you get a very huge range of time, is not something I will put a lot of energy. But in the university and the approach we are having as teacher, it has this like edge between art expression and design and commission, and it's always like a tension. And sometimes students like have to decide if they want to be in the art or in the design. But for me, it's not the problem of a designer of it's a problem of someone who is studying theoretically or something like that.
Aesthetics, maybe. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Well, thank you so much, Gabriel. I want to suggest everybody who is here today in this conversation, and also will rewatch it later on, to continue the conversation ongoing. So this video is going to be available on YouTube, in MoCDA and KnownOrigin, and on Twitter on the KnownOrigin page. So feel free to reshare it, retweet it, and add your comments there and on YouTube, so that we'll get back to you. And Gabriel, make sure to check on those comments, because there's quite a few good questions for you.
Okay.
But I think we can call it a night for today. And it's been a pleasure, honestly, to have you. I'm speechless. Like, you've just told us a whole story, which is from spanning from teaching to students who are now superstars in the crypto art space, from sharing your personal stories about developing art from 2D and 3D and the Commodore 64, and all those brilliant stories about the grayscale and how you developed your skills working on black and white, and then going on to the music industry as well. So thank you so much for sharing all these wonderful stories. Thank you, everybody who joined this live conversation. Please feel free to share your comments and questions on social media again. But yeah, once again, from me, MoCDA, and KnownOrigin, it's been a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later, everyone. Take care. We'll see you again behind the screens in a couple of weeks' time. Take care.
Bye.